Welcome to the Building Your Career podcast. I'm your host, Don Tarjanskis, and join us as we explore the world of construction. Each episode, we welcome a guest that shares career highlights and career advice, and hopefully inspires the next generation of construction professionals.
Welcome to another edition of the Building Your Career podcast. Today I am joined by Wendy Tipper, who I'm super keen to have on the podcast because started her career as an engineer and then has gone down a different route, and there's been changes most recently in her career as well. So I'm quite interested to be able to deep dive into that and be able to give some kind of practical advice along the way, really. So Wendy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Nice to meet you again.
So I suppose the first question I wanted to just ask really is, could you just give us a little bit of an overview of your kind of career to date, where it all began for you and how you kind of first got into the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I started my career in engineering. So I did a degree in civil engineering. I was sort of quite some time ago now. I think I was drawn to engineering. My dad, my brother, engineers. So I knew a bit about it. And, I was I was good at maths. I like sciences. So yeah, that's kind of what drew me to engineering. Civil, because it was constructing things. It was big. It was built. You could see what you were doing. It was very obvious. So I like that. It was quite creative. And so a lot of structural engineering and civil engineering in there. So yeah, I did my degree at Imperial in London in engineering, and then worked in engineering, mainly in structures for probably about eight years. Worked on some great projects. The O2 Arena in London and the Millennium Dome, which was early in my career. Got chartered with the Institute of Civil Engineers. After that, sort of took a step more into project management. So I like the wider view project management gave you, sort of across more disciplines than maybe just sort of civil and structural engineering. So gravitated to project management and did a couple of upskilled in terms of and became registered with the Association of Project Managers, and then worked in project and more into program management, which is then more the management of a number of projects on large schemes. And then later on, I was working on a project which actually was involving a large scale project. I was doing the program management, but it was much more around transformational change. So around people, around place, around technology, around process and systems. So a complete sort of change of the organisation, which got me really interested in that. So I built a team in the organisation I was working on that provided clients with that consultancy advice around change and strategic change for organisations, which really enjoyed. And then more recently, I've actually set up on my own. So working as a business consultant, so self-employed, just coming up to a year. So something I kind of thought I'd really like to do over the last sort of 10 years or so, but never quite kind of plucked up the courage. But an opportunity came and I thought, right, it's now or never. So so now that's where I am now, and providing consultancy advice into clients, and working in that way. So a little bit different.
And I love that. It's such a varied route in. You've obviously touched on a lot of different aspects of the kind of construction industry as a whole there, and definitely kind of a lot to unpack and certain questions that I wanted to go over. I think if I just start off in chronological order, really, could you talk to us about obviously your chartership process, the route to get chartered, and indeed, a lot of individuals, because what I'm starting to find now is that a lot of people who are coming out of university, whether that be civil engineering or structural engineering, are asking companies what support they have in place for chartership, which I think is great, because this is something that's not being forgotten about, or after a couple of years, people would be kind of getting used to the idea of being chartered. This is something that people are looking for right at the beginning of their careers. Could you just give us a little bit of an understanding about, how you went through the chartership process, and I suppose what support would be good to look out for as well? If you could turn back the hands of time and you're going forward for a particular company, what kind of support would you be kind of looking out for that would make you realize that this company is serious about supporting you through the chartership process?
Well, I think, first of all, it's very much they have a process in place that takes people through the chartership. They have a links and corporate links with the relevant institutions, and so there's a path set out there. You don't have to kind of invent that. That's well understood. It's in the organisation, and that they've got engineers who are there who are ready to guide you through that, to support and guide you through it. So to mentor, to act as your supervising engineer through the process is really important. So yeah, you're very much kind of building those relationships, asking those questions from the outset, building the relationships with the people in the organisation, and also kind of in a wider network as well. So gaining as much experience. But it's great to hear people asking for that kind of before they set out on that, because quite often it's people are sort of thinking, well, I've just done my degree and, I'm getting used to work and I'll get round to getting chartered. But, my advice is just get it done, knock it out as quick as you can, sort of 3-4 years after, it's doable. Get yourself on a good project or a few good projects, and they don't have to be the biggest projects. They can have, all projects have interesting aspects and have opportunities for development. So it's a matter of kind of teasing out what you need and what the chartership route, understand the chartership route, understand what it's asking of you, understand what those competencies you need to develop and those skills and knowledge that you need to develop to be able to evidence that you have reached that professional status to go forward. And I think sort of advice I'd give, it's, I recall, always if I was on a train journey with a couple of senior engineers or senior managers, we use that time, ask them questions, have 5 questions lined up. How did you, what do you, use that time, and it's so valuable. And people are always, I think, really, really happy to talk and really happy to help. The engineering profession draws in people who are typically there to help. They are very kind and generous with their time, and they want to support and help. So yeah, my advice is just ask the questions, look for the opportunities in those projects, and work through it quite methodically, to tick off what you need to do till you're ready. And think about not just inside your organisation, think about opportunities outside in your network, to grow your network. So yeah, it's really, it's the onus is on you to be accountable and move forward, but it will pay dividends very soon, so worth doing.
I think you touched on a really important point there, is that some people, when they hear the word mentor, they see that to be the only point of contact for any information or any support for chartership. But as you correctly said, everybody in your office, your wider network, it doesn't necessarily have to, it's all information gathering exercise. So I think you did touch on a really important point there, is don't rely heavily on one person or one point of contact there.
Oh, completely. Everyone's there to speak to ask questions. Your peers, your seniors, people in other organisations, people in other sort of parts of the organisation. I'd be asking people in the legal department, can I come and spend half a day with you and understand about contracts, or in the finance team, or so you just have this really broad view, which I think really, really benefits you at all stages in your career.
Brilliant. I don't know, obviously you were mentioning after the chartership route, you decided to go down the kind of the project management route and developed kind of an interest there. And, a lot of people are asking, what is, a lot of people start off in engineering and cross over to project management, and they see people who have done that. So from your perspective, what were the kind of the fundamental differences, or what kind of changed in terms of day to day when you did step into that project management role? And indeed, why did you want to kind of go down that avenue?
Down the road. So yeah, just sort of starting at the end of the question, why did I want to go down that route? I felt, for me personally, and everyone's different. I wanted a little bit I felt my engineering work was it was in the detail, which was great, and I was happy for that for a while. But then I wanted to sort of see beyond the detail and above, and maybe that kind of helicopter view of kind of what's going on overall. And project management is about leading a team to deliver a project. Not surprisingly, is managing a project. So yeah, to be able to see a broader, I really enjoy working with people. and understanding what makes them tick. And so that opportunity to work with a sort of broader group of disciplines, I love learning about mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, and then financial advisors, or it would take me to a different place, and I'd learn and sort of absorb like a sponge of these different disciplines, and how to manage those. So yeah, that's kind of what interested me, and then just thinking about sort of broader, what do we do, kind of what does it, what's project management all about. It's very much, if you think, sort of peel it back, it's about delivering the project, time, cost, quality, what's the risk, what's the scope, what's the risk if you don't deliver it, should it be, what's the budget, not just of the end product that you're delivering, but also all the resource and all the time that people are spending to deliver that project. So it's thinking about all of those competing aspects. You're holding all these different plates and thinking about that, and also your technical expertise. So understanding when there's likely to be a problem, and getting under the skin of it, and speaking to people and drawing out, when there's likely to be a problem, how can we work around that, thinking on your feet. Actually, we've still got to deliver this, but what we thought we were going to do this, actually we now need to replan. So there's lots of it's no 2 days are the same. Everything, it's always kind of a changing piece, because you are inevitably delivering a change, something from you start with something with this state, and you are moving it to this state, be it a building or a bridge, or something, a change within an organization. So there's still projects irrespective of what it is that you're doing. Yeah, and as I said, I really enjoy the people working with people, and that opportunity to talk to different people and find out more about their roles in the piece as well, and how they impact the project. So yeah, so hopefully does that answer your question? I'll probably miss
perfect.
questions.
No, absolutely perfect. I really enjoyed that answer, and because it is the kind of the wider view of the project as a whole. Really, I think that is a case of being able to, as you say, that helicopter view, the wider view of the project, and not just coming at it from a particular aspect. But because of that, I think a lot of people assume that they would have to be a complete expert in every single discipline from day one, really, where, my advice would be is know everything. Like the M&E would be an expert in the M&E. It's just keeping on top of everything and making sure the lines of communication are flowing, really.
Yeah, you're there to be the conductor in the orchestra. You're not there to be able to play every instrument. You're there to, to bring the music together, and create a space where people feel safe and people feel comfortable to work, and they thrive, and they bring their best selves into that workspace. So that's what your role is. It's very different to the engineering, where you're in the detail, you're delivering a task. This is about creating an environment, and where people come together, they communicate, and you are enabling that project to be delivered satisfactorily or beyond satisfactorily. And also, what I really enjoyed was I really enjoy working with clients. So to deliver, you in project management, you're much closer to the client. You're spending a lot of time with them, understanding how this project is going to impact their organisation or their position in the industry, and you're spending a lot of time with them, delivering them and understanding what it is they want, what it is they don't want. And developing that relationship with them to enable the team to be able to deliver a project that is really impactful, adds value to the client, and is what is needed. And often, people end up delivering things that they think is needed, but actually what is actually needed is might be quite different. So yeah, I enjoy the client aspect as well.
Perfect. And I think you've touched on it a few times there, is kind of that ability to get a good team together. And I think, for a lot of our listeners, some of the most common questions are, there seems to be a bit of a lack of support or training in terms of team management, because a lot of either structural engineers would have a graduate underneath them, or maybe even two graduates, and they're at that point where they haven't actually managed anyone before. They've always kind of been on their own and had someone managing them. So all of a sudden to be thrust into a position where they're managing individuals beneath them can sometimes be quite daunting. And I think, people fall into the trap of thinking that they need to have a certain personality type to be a good manager, or fall into my manager was like this, so I have to copy and paste that and be exactly the same. So I suppose the broader question to you would be, what kind of advice would you give to people, having been in a management position yourself, in terms of how to be a respected and a good manager?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes, so more recently, I ran a team of around about 10, 12 people, and yeah, really interesting. Really enjoy that leadership role. It's what sort of obviously it's very important to have clarity of what you're there to deliver, what's your function as a team, what's your objective, how your objectives are linked to maybe the strategic objectives of the organization. People feel they want to know how that's connected, how what their work is going to do is going to make a difference and be impactful to the organization. So it's really important, I think, to have that sort of string of golden thread running through your team, what you're there to do, and how does that connect into whatever organization you're in, how you're delivering. So I think there's that, and then there's obviously having some systems and processes in place that people enable them to work efficiently and effectively. But I think one of the most important things is the people aspect, the people management piece. That safety, security, a team is where you come to. It should feel at home. It should feel where people can thrive and be the best selves. If you're not working, if you don't have that, you're not going to be bringing the best work to the team. If you're constantly looking over your shoulder thinking what happens if, or then you don't feel safe. That's psychological safety. So I think very much team lead, it's really important to do that. And ways to do that, spending time with your team, one-to-ones, really important, getting to know them, what makes them tick, what's important to them, what do they want out of their role? Do they want to develop their skills? Do they want new opportunities? Do they want to travel? Do they want to work from home because they're for young children, what have you? So understand what they want from it. So looking for some mutual benefit here. So, and then you're going to get the best out of people if they're getting what they need from it as well. So, time spent one-to-one with the team, with each member of your team is critically important, and think about them each one quite differently. And then bringing the team together regularly to spend time together, to share skills, to share learning, is super important as well. To ask questions, that's where you get the light bulb moments, the innovation, the ideas from sharing. So bringing the team together quite often, informal, whether you're all sort of disparate around the country or around the world, or can come together face to face is always better. So the weekly and maybe half yearly having an away day together to spend time. So really, really good. What was all I was found really fascinating was I did have 3 organisational psychologists in my team, which I brought in especially for that people aspect. So manage them, I always felt like I was under the microscope, but they that was really interesting. Some of the tools and techniques they brought, and used a lot of profiling, personality profiling, sort of for ourselves individually, which we would share. So that immediately creates a sort of open space. And then look at that from a team perspective. So actually, what have we got as a team? Where are our strengths? And actually, where are our blind spots as a team? And that was really interesting, I think, realising, right, okay, that'll be why we don't do that bit so well, or we all ignore that because we're not interested, because we're all this sort of personality profile. This is where we like to find ourselves. So knowing about your team, taking time to as an individual, but as a team, how you work together, and what your gaps are as well, sort of, so you're aware of that. So then if you're thinking about recruitment, well, actually, we've got a gap here. We do need to bring that skill set into the team. So I think those are some of the things. Yeah, bringing people together, spending time together, new skills, really important new skills, keeping how are you learning, how you bring new skills in individually and to the team, how are you using those skills, really important as well. That's a key thing. Advocating for your team, giving them praise, when it's well deserved. really important. You are to ensure that that team can deliver their best work. You're often sort of shielding them from stuff. So, ensuring that they hear what they need to, but actually if there's stuff from leadership and above that is really not that helpful, actually we can just put that aside for the moment. It's not saying you're kind of hiding stuff, but actually, is it useful? Do they need to know that? And quite often not. So, being that sort of shield as well, and from that safe space. So that's some of the things. I think also as well, just getting a balance between challenge and overload is a fine line. You want people, particularly, bright sparks coming fresh in, and want challenge, but understanding where the challenge sits versus actually then overwhelming people is really important. And people's, often are quite quiet about it, and they're like, oh, I can do this. But actually, just so, again, that spending time one-to-ones, that, actually, how are you doing with this? Actually, anything we can help with, anything I can help with. So that, I think, is important. The well-being of teams, massively important. Since COVID and during COVID, and our working lives have changed beyond recognition. People were fatigued. Some still are fatigued from that time. So really kind of understanding that well-being piece. And we used to run a really nice piece, and my team was on our weekly check-in, was just, where are you on the well-being curve? Are you a 5? Are you a 4? Sort of, you're the top of the curve, meaning you're thriving and you're in a good place. And that was brilliant way to open up a conversation about, how you're feeling, and is that you've got too much on? Actually, you've not got enough on because you're feeling under challenged. So how can we redistribute the work around the team? How can people help? How can I support you? And that was a really, really good gauge for me as a leader to understand people, how we're feeling, and also for in the teams, just open up. And those maybe who didn't feel that comfortable being that open, were actually, it was a number, so it was quite easy to say, actually, I'm feeling like I'm a bit like a 4 today. I'm a bit under challenged, or actually I'm really over the peak. I'm really sort of really stressed. So it just, and even they talked about even that process of just saying it out really helped, not just keeping it in. So I think well-being, so I've talked a lot about the people bit, which is no surprise. And so I guess those are some of the kind of things that I would think about leading a team. Really important. Obviously, they need to know their technical knowledge, and their skill set, and how they deliver that, how they keep that updated, and what behaviours they demonstrate as well, to show their competence. So yeah, a number of things in there, I think, in terms of leading teams.
Yeah, I really, really like that. Really, really like that. And I think what really resonated with me with that is that kind of challenge and overload, because it can be, if you don't ask the questions, then you're not really too sure where, you can't really gauge where you are in terms of that fine line between challenge and overload, and where the tipping point is. So, because I know, a lot of the feedback that I get, particularly for graduate engineers, is that they are quickly overloaded very, very quickly, but because they are deemed to be graduates and should want to learn everything, and then all of a sudden they just get a load of work thrown at them, and then very quickly they become overloaded, and then it's a very stressful situation to be in after that. So I thought that was awesome advice, in terms of having regular check-ins. That I think that's something that will resonate with a lot of people here, and hopefully if there are any new managers listening to this, suggest that to your boss, because this is going to be a game changer for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And ensure you've got mentors and in place, and coaching as well, coaching people. We're not in a world now where we command and control people or tell people what to do. We coach people. We get them to come develop the ideas and bring their thinking to the table, and you shape things together. It's not, no more as day. I think when I started out probably in engineering, was a lot more command and control leadership, and do this, do that, next, do that. Whereas now, you're much more, and your leaders should be kind of coming up with that, what do you think? And what do you think about that? What happened then? And what is another way you can think about that? So using some of that style of questioning as well, being willing to show vulnerability. I've had that problem before. Yeah. In that situation, I did this and this, and I felt really rubbish about it, or, and just being open enough, I think, to to share that vulnerable side of yourself. You don't really lose anything as long as you can manage that within realms. But it's and you're professional, but it's important. We're all human, and important to share that side too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I know obviously you touched on the topic earlier in terms of your career progression and the different aspects you've looked at, but what I'm quite keen to be able to break down into very simple terms is the kind of transformational change aspect, because a lot of people have asked me, exactly what this means and what kind of career paths are on offer. So I just wanted to hear it from someone themselves who've been through that. Could you just give us a little bit of a breakdown of exactly what that actually means in day to day?
Well, yeah, it gets a lot of airtime, doesn't it? Transformational change, and we touch on it in various different ways. Really, sort of, I suppose, if you're going textbook, transformational change is really about organisations going through strategic reorganisation, to remain relevant to their customer, or maybe as a result of, in terms of financially to remain profitable, they may have to kind of reshape completely. So that sort of change right through is kind of paradigm shifting. So they're kind of it's the Netflix of the world, or they're the examples we hear about all the time. But actually, organisations are constantly going through change, and some quite strategic to understand to their customers change needs and habits, and buying habits change constantly, so they need to really keep on top of that. So maybe it's around new restructure, or it's about new technology that will deliver complete sort of drive efficiencies, a complete change in the organisation. But there's always a number of elements to it. It's not just let's deliver a new technology system and platform that restructures our company, that delivers efficiencies, but it will be all the human side as well. People aren't going to use it and know how to use it. It's not going to work. So it's around the behaviour change piece as well. Have we got the right culture for that change? Have we got, in terms of the people's skills, their mindsets, are they bought into this change? So it's about bringing, when people talk about hearts and minds, winning hearts and minds. So it's bringing all of the people along the journey, and ensuring people are, there is a vision where we're going to. And often with transformational change, we don't often know quite where we're going. We're going somewhere over there. We know it'll feel a bit like this when we get there, but we don't quite know. And because it's a little bit an emerging journey. So that sort of transformational change is big, it's strategic, it's right across, it'll be across technology, across culture, across people, across the organizational structure. So it tends to be, organizationally wide. But then there's sort of appended to that, there's lots of different elements of change as well that organizations go through, maybe upskilling or smaller sort of technology projects. So yeah, does that gives you a sense?
Yeah, completely more than you'd know, because I think I'm in the process of setting up a community group for SME business owners currently, and that was the one thing that, how do we go about creating that shift in either thought process or the way we do things or the office culture. And it's really good what you're saying in terms of, well, let's break that down strategically, instead of just trying to change things and going at it without some kind of plan of action in place. Is to really methodically have a plan of action before you even try and implement or change things, to make sure that it's going to be beneficial for everyone, and everyone's actually on board at the start of the change before you even implement it, rather than a kind of a dictator and come in the next day and say, right, everything's changed from this day forward and no one's going back to the old way of doing things. Again, the word transformational, it's the long process, really. So yeah,
absolutely, and bringing people on the journey. So ensuring they've got their fingerprints on it as well. They've been part of that process to develop and think of the ideas, and everyone's had a voice in there. So they feel part of it. Otherwise, it's something that's done to them, and they won't own it. They won't take accountability for it. So it's important to very much to bring people along. And thinking about the benefits as well. Ensuring all the way along, are we set out to deliver these benefits? Are we going to deliver them when will they be delivered? What will they look like when they're delivered? How will that feel? And so that benefits piece as well alongside it.
Perfect. Just kind of leading on to our final question as well, because I know obviously, you've kind of just gone self-employed and set up on your own, and I get a lot of messages from people, or kind of senior and principal and also associate level, where the market is incredibly busy, and they're kind of considering that kind of whole setting up on your own. So could you just talk us through perhaps the highs and the lows of going it alone and not having that support structure, as it were, to kind of fall back on, or not having that kind of larger office environment to have that support behind you in place? How was it for you when you decided to go self-employed?
Really exciting, to be honest, really exciting. I think I've got to a stage in my career where, I wanted to do things a bit differently, and probably the way I wanted to do them. We work as a female in the world of working. I think a lot of things are set up for the way men think. So actually, this was an opportunity to do stuff my way, and think a little bit differently. So so just almost a year in, there's all the kind of basics getting set up of all the kind of admin stuff, which, laptop and technology and business insurance and accounting and IT software and all of that good stuff that you just have to have the kind of building blocks to start with, which for me was a sort of 2-week quick turnaround, get it all set up, because actually I reached out to my network to say I'm doing this, and one of the first contacts came back saying, "That's great, Wendy, I could do some help." So I had 2 weeks to kind of get myself set up, which was quite exciting, really, and quite a good way to do it. So you kind of I didn't have time to think. I literally just kind of cracked on with it and got things set up. So that was kind of lots to do. And obviously, you haven't got the IT team there, you haven't got the legal team there, you haven't got all the support services, HR, people services that you'd normally sort of call on for help when getting when setting up or joining an organization, what have you. So very much kind of on my left my own resources, a lot of googling, a lot of looking up, a lot of and asking people as well, friends, people in my network who were brilliant, reached people on LinkedIn I'd never spoken to before, but I could see they had a similar profile. They'd been maybe set up on their own for a few years, and brilliant. I had calls with people, messages on LinkedIn, lots of Teams calls, and just some advice around what you needed to do, because there's lots of hurdles, lots of things that are just logistics and admin, just getting that sort of set up and getting yourself organised. That's kind of some of the kind of basic stuff, the building blocks. But then, like you say, some of the kind of highs and lows. I sort of like the team I worked with and led before. Missed them terribly, and just kind of looking left and right for where is everyone? Who am I going to delegate this to? Oh, that'll be me. A friend of mine who's been working, she does leadership training for quite some time, and she's worked on her own, and she said to me, it's don't forget your CEO to admin assistant. So you do everything. You do your invoicing, you do your commercial, you do your legal stuff, you do your accounting, you do your marketing, you find your work, you deliver your work, you do it all. So that is really daunting to begin with. There was a lot of where's my team here, so it's daunting but also really exciting. I think in leadership position often you get to the point where you're not delivering a lot of work yourself. You're not you're not so much in the detail of work delivery. You're leading the team, you're looking at the commercials, you're winning work for the team or what have you. But so now I was in the position of doing it all and delivering work myself. I'm thinking, can I actually do that? It's so long since I've done it. So it was really rewarding, kind of refresh my skills and go and run a workshop, or go and spend some time with this team and understand and hear what was important to them in this client organisation. So really some real kind of interesting times there. I think as well in an organisation, there's always learning opportunities, there's formal training, there's development opportunities that you just are a sort of one click away or one conversation away. Whereas now I'm kind of thinking, well, where do I get my learning from? Where do I get where do I get my development? So again, reaching out to my network, looking for courses online. What do I need? Who do I need to speak to? So being quite sort of tactical about what I need and where am I going to get it now, as opposed to it all being on your doorstep and readily available for you to find. So I think that's quite interesting. But I absolutely love the autonomy, flexibility. You kind of can. There's a lot more kind of work. It's to suit me. It's to suit me what I want to do, when I want to do it, and how I want to do it. So, that's really interesting, I think. And, interested to read recently on a business review saying that over 50% of, I think, Gen Z are working in this way in the US, I think 50% odd. So, people, since COVID, people are finding it a really attractive way to work. If I want to work for this client, or I want to work for 2 clients, or I want to do this, I want to do that, it's much more, I am much more autonomous and have my opportunity to do what I want to do. So, so I guess that's some of the highs, some of the lows, some of the benefits. Haven't had really any lows yet. So fingers crossed that stayed. But mostly it's been it's been really enjoyable. But I think probably I've got a very broad career to date. So I'm calling on all aspects, my contractual learning I did back in when I was doing my chartership, speaking to people on a train journey of, what's the contract. So I'm thinking I'm using that, I'm using this, I'm using, my people skills, and I'm using my networking skills, and I'm calling on everything really because you are everything in that delivery model. So
Awesome.
interesting.
Well, thank you very much. And that's going to give such a big insight to a lot of our listeners. And obviously, just before we wrap everything up, I know in the call before this, you mentioned that you'd been asked to be a judge at an awards. So just before we go, could you share us a little bit of the guest judge that you're going to be? What was that all about?
I'm recently asked to join the judging panel for the MCA, the Managing Consulting Association Awards, for next year, which I'm really, really delighted to do and really excited about. I think there'll be an opportunity to see some of the sort of most exciting and groundbreaking projects that do get submitted for those awards. Currently the awards are going through at the moment, so watching those eagle-eyed for this year. And so really excited to be supporting the MCA next year in that judging panel. So looking forward to that.
Awesome. Well, Wendy, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on as a guest. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah, it really has been an honour to have you on. So thank you very much for being a guest.
Very welcome. Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks very much. Take care.
Bye.
Joining us on the Building Your Career podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing from our guest and learning about the different career paths available. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe so we can reach even more listeners. And if anyone wants any free CV advice or simply wants to know the options available to them, don't hesitate to get in touch.